Hello, my name's Doug, and today I'm going to show you how to make a simple device that will allow you to turn empty soda pop bottles into rockets. This is what we'll be making. You start out with a piece of 1/2 inch Schedule 80 PVC with an NPT connection on one end. We will blunt the other end, turn it in a little bit bullet shape so they can put the pop bottle on, and the heart of the thing are 3 O-rings. Now this is a lot simpler than a lot of the launchers that I've seen videos on. It's simple to operate, and either at the end of this video or in a future one I will show you it in action. However, it's not simple to make. Well, it is if you have the right equipment. As you can see, I've got it above a mini lathe here, and I'm going to show you how to use the mini lathe to make it. I start off with a riser that's 1 foot long and cut it in half. That gives me 2 chances at getting one right. I usually don't need both of those. So with the other half, I'm going to show you how to make the same thing on a little bit bigger lathe. But I wanted to show you on the mini lathe. There is a major change to this mini lathe over the way they come from the factory. I have replaced the 3-inch chuck with a 4-inch chuck. It has a hole big enough that will let me put this in deep enough that I can work on the end. Even though the through hole is only 8/10 of an inch and this is 840, because there's a Morse taper 3 or number 3 Morse taper behind it, I can get it in far enough to do the work we need to do. So I'll be back in a sec. I'm going to take one of the 6-inch long ones and cut it in half. I'm not going to show that because cutting a piece of plastic in half shouldn't be too difficult for anybody. Okay, as promised, here we're going to make it on the mini lathe. Start off by putting it in, and because it's plastic, I'm going to just use the same tool for facing it off that I'm going to cut the O-ring grooves with. This is not strictnecessary, it just makes it so that it looks like it's been done by somebody who knows what they're doing, and vice versa. I'm going to form the bullet nose with a file. I have one that's rough on one side, not so rough on the other. This just makes it a lot easier to put the rocket on later. Alright, we got that bullet nose put on. You just deburr a little bit there. If you look closely, you can see that there's condensate forming on that. The reason is that this PVC at certain temperatures becomes kind of squirrely. It wants to act semi-melt, semi-not melt. It makes it difficult to get a good finish. It makes it difficult to get the dimensions you want. So I'll put this in the freezer for a while. Alright, now I need to bring this in to where I know I'm not going to hit anything on the chuck. And I want to put an O-ring groove about 1/4 inch away from the threads, and then another one about 1/4 inch, and another one. It's not real critical, that's why I'm not even measuring it. Okay, so now I push it in so that that's about even there, and we're going to cut the outside one first. 2 reasons. One, it's the least critical, and I want to leave the most material each time we cut a ring so I can transmit the torque through it. So I'm going to start in, and when it first starts touching, I'm going to set it to 0. This is 840 thousandths. I want the guide diameter under the O-ring to be 710, so I've got to move it 130 thousandths on the diameter. This reads on the radius, so 65 thousandths. There's 40, there's 50, there's 65. I'm going to let it sit there and spring cut for a sec. At 65, so let's see where we are. Get out the trusty diamond verniers. One thing that's fun about working with this plastic is it likes to string all over the place. Okay. We're about 725, so I didn't pick it up exactly on there. That's okay. So bring it back down in here to the 25, 65. Should be about another 10. So 32. So we'll see where that is. But notice that I'm getting a pretty good decent finish because this stuff's cold. Alright, pretty close to right on 710. So, and that was at 32. So we're going to run in here. You can see the mark a little bit. Alright, so I'm going to be a little too fast. I don't want it to melt it. Alright, so now I need to take it 15 more, or 7.5 on here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And let it clean up. It'd be nice if I had enough room to get the tool out of the way. Alright. Try the trusty diamond verniers. And 695, and it's just about exactly where it is, so we're right on there. So rotate it around where I get the other one. Too fast. Okay, so that's 710 and we want to go 30. Alright, so that's 10, 20, 30. Let it sit there and clean up, spring cut. Notice how as this warms up, the finish keeps getting a little bit more funky. It's still plenty good what we're doing. And 680 is what we're looking for at 685, and that's going to be okay. I'll get this out of the way. I'm going to take the file here and clean off some of the stuff here. Red flat on here, and get the corners, and we should be okay. Some of this off of here. Good enough, no sense fighting it, I'm taking it out. Alright, so there we have the launch tube. All we need to do is put some O-rings in. I'll do that later. Okay, as promised here, I'm going to do it again on a little bit bigger lathe, and it's pretty close to the same, but there are some differences. So once again, if you notice real close that this has been put in the freezer to cool it off a little bit, and because it's plastic, I'm going to use the same tool to face it that I'm going to use to cut the grooves. So we're going to turn this lathe on at about 360 RPM. And take that off. Now I'm going to use this same tool here to come in and form the bullet, unlike the other where I used the file. Mostly because I had this tool already ground, and I didn't grind it, I inherited it. And if it looks a little skitty wampus on there, it is, and I don't know why. I know the guy pretty well, he did it. It's my father-in-law, and inherited it when he died, so there must have been some reason why it comes off a little bit crooked. But now I'll turn around and do the other end. But before I tighten that up, get this thing off, put it on here, and take this tool and turn it around the other way. Too bad it wasn't long enough to do both sides. Okay. It's not critical, but since I have a gauge on this, I'm going to bring this into 1/2 inch. It reads 1/2 inch. Make sure that it's not going to collide with the chuck. And it's not. So then I'm going to move it back out 1/2 inch. And then I'm going to set my spacing, so I've got about 1/4 inch, and it's not critical, so I'm just eyeballing it. Alright, so I'm going to leave it at that same RPM. I'm going to carefully bring it in until I start to contact. This measures on the diameter, so I'm going to take it 130 on the diameter. Alright, just starting to pick it up. Let it sit there in the spring cut for a minute. Get it out of the way. Now, for those of you who are astute, you notice that this has actually a round end, and it doesn't matter either way. Make sure that that's not measuring on top of stuff. Alright, here's the diamond veneers, and it's right on 710. Alright, that's what it's supposed to be. Alright, so move it in, 250 thousandths. Take it in 130 and then another 15. So that's 10. So there's 15. Alright, now we're going to take it to the last one. And then we're going to go in another 15 from there. 130. 10, 20, 30 for 680. Let it sit there for a minute to do its spring cut. And I think we've got this one pretty much taken care of. This big lathe considerably more rigid than the little one. Makes this thing a little bit more sure. But I wanted to do at least one on the mini lathe to show that it can be done. Alright, take the file, take some of the top stuff off. This should be done. I'm just going to use a wire brush to take off some of the hairs. In fact, I think I'm going to turn it so it goes backwards. Okay, there we have it. We've bullet nosed the end, we've cut the grooves, I've taken some burrs off. So in a minute I'm going to come back and I'll put the O-ring grooves on, or not the O-ring grooves, but the O-rings themselves into the grooves. So be back in a minute. Okay, as promised, we're going to put the O-ring grooves on, or O-rings on. The O-rings are a number 12 Danco. Most of you are probably going to get it from the big box store, and that's what you know them. So I'm not even putting the aerospace definition. Stretch it over the end, just roll it down, it pops into the first one, just leave it there. Put the second one on, and then it'll go over the first one and fall in the second. Roll into the third. Alright. Here's the pop bottle. You want to take actually a knife in this case, but I'm just going to show with that. And you want to take and cut a chamfer on the inside of the bottle so that it will slide over the O-ring, not try to shear it. And so here we go, we push it in. The first one fits in pretty snug. The second one really snug. I've never been able to get the third one on, but these things vary a little bit. Also, to finish this off, the most simple way is you put some Teflon tape on this, screw it into a sprinkler holder stand, either a spike or a stand or whatever, and you can hook the water hose to it, and if you put the bottle on dry like this is, as the water comes in, it will pressurize the air that's still in here, It can't get past this seal until there's enough spring pressure build up that it'll launch. You don't even need a compressor. So anyway, I'll show that in another video. So anyway, if you have any questions or whatever, or comments, you know where to put them. And thanks for watching.